The shortly-lived escape of Malcolm Phelps. Just a few hours left, Malcolm thought. Soon, his friend would be on the night shift, and he could get out. His plan was flawless. Meet with his friend, the guard, who would get him out of the cell and fortress. Next, he would travel to his hometown, Apple Grove, and meet with the love of his life, Marion. They would wed and live peacefully in the town, which will be quite hard considering Malcolm's magical prowess. The guard began his rounds. He passed by Malcolm's cell, casually opening it. Malcolm slowly followed his friend, trying to remain hidden. "There's really no need for that," the guard spoke. "I'm the only one on night shift." Sir Wesley, the guard, was an average-sized man, with hazel eyes and light brown hair. Unlike most guards, he believed some of the prisoners to be innocent. In Malcolm's case, it was quite correct. "When we get out, I'd like to visit the nearest brothel," Malcolm joked. Wesley grabbed him and shoved him against the wall. "Listen to me, Malcolm. This is not a joke. I stuck my neck out for you so you can be happy with Marion. You wouldn't want to disappoint my sister, would you? I thought you were going to remain true to her." "I was only joking." "Good. Now when we head to the gates, make sure you blend in with the townspeople. And no, lighting people on fire is not blending in." "Fine, fine. Will I have some money to start my new life with Marion?" Sir Wesley reluctantly handed him a pouch of silver. "This is all you get." "Thank you," Malcolm began, "for everything. You've been a good friend. Much better than I deserve." "Don't worry about it. Listen, there's a chestnut horse in the stable outside the gate. Take it and ride to Apple Grove." "I won't forget you, Sir Wesley. You've been too kind to me." He stepped outside the gate. Sure enough, there was the horse. He got on and rode off, the horse's hooves clashing against the cobblestone road. However Sir Wesley managed to get all the guards off duty that night was beyond his comprehension. "Wait not a day longer, Lady Marion," he thought. More hours passed as his horse became fatigued. He set up camp for the night. He'd be able to make it in the next morning. He examined his current supplies. Some sticks, a pouch of money, and his rope. Tattered thing, yellow and purple cloth barely held together by poor craftsmanship. He prepared a makeshift bed, mostly made of sticks. Uncomfortable, but it'd have to do. He'd be sleeping in a manor by tomorrow, and the only thing on his mind then would be the amount of sleep he earned. The next morning, Malcolm arrived in Apple Grove. Everyone welcomed him back, but he got the best greeting from Marion. She knew he'd come back. Later that week, Malcolm and her married. They lived in Marion's estate for some time, but decided it was too much trouble to deal with the crowds of people, so they moved to a house on the outskirts. A knock on the door. Who in the world could be at an hour like this? Malcolm got up, stepped towards the door, and slowly opened, only to find a sword at his neck. He stepped outside. From what he could see, a fully armed knight, in all too familiar guard armor, had killed 2 innocents outside the house. Malcolm smirked. "It took you long enough to find me," he quipped. "Silence, prisoner. You're an escaped convict, and one of the most wanted mages out there. I've come to end you in your mass murdering. You'll be executed now, or later." The guard was dead serious. "Oh? And what evidence do you have to mark me as a mass murderer? I've been living in Apple Grove for over a year now. The closest thing to mass murdering I've done is the massacre of these innocent crops. You honestly think this is a joke, don't you? Well, I'll tell you what isn't. The corpse of Sir Wesley. I killed him like the dog he is." At this remark, Malcolm snapped. He ducked under the incoming swoop of the guard's blade and grabbed the man by the throat. His anger was masked in the fury of his magic. Burn marks began searing their way across the guard's throat as he screamed in pain. Malcolm pulled back his hand, enveloped it in fire, and drove it into the man's chest, burning him to ashes. "Marion, go to the barn outside. Get on the horse and get out. I'll be with you shortly," he shouted. She did as he said and rode off. He stepped outside. Guards had surrounded him, weapons drawn. Thankfully, Marion had made it out of there alive. He knew he wouldn't. He wanted his future child to have a fresh start, and he couldn't be the one to give it to him. He extended his arms, enveloped them in fire, and took as many of the guards with him as he could before the arrows and spells pierced his body. He fell to his knees, coughing up blood, and hit the ground. It was over. Behind her, the noise escalated. She could hear Malcolm's all too familiar fire magic doing its work, but it stopped suddenly. Was he dead? What would she do without him? She panicked and rode back to him. When she arrived, she found him unmasked. His corpse was pierced one too many times with sword spells and arrows. She had lost him. Malcolm Phelps was gone.